Good evening, November Foxtrot, and welcome to another banging episode of November Foxtrot Podcast. We're going to be talking about a Q&A tonight. Lance is unfortunately working. Andy has pre-approved time off in the form of annual leave. So I'm joined tonight by Ash at onelegion.uk_Pegasus, which I'm going to have to get used to saying. He will be joining us. We'll be doing a Q&A. So if you've got any specific questions for Ash, feel free to throw them at him. It will always be entertaining.
By all means, try and answer what I can.
Yeah. How are you, Ash?
I'm not too bad. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm having a cracking week. I got made redundant on yesterday. So, yeah. I'm now doing Superflow full time. So... Heavy branded here. So if you're in the need of a CCTV survey or drainage unblocked and you're in the general vicinity of me in the country, then I'm sure we can help you out. So let us know.
Where is the area?
Shit. I don't want to tell people specifically, but basically it's southeast.
The southeast.
Well, this is the thing. So we are generally in the southeast, but I've done jobs in like Torquay. Right. Oh no, not Torquay. Sorry, Newquay, right down in Cornwall. And we've done stuff up north. So yeah, I mean we're general area of this being the UK basically. So if you are interested, then give us a shout and I can point you in the right direction. Or if you're a quantity surveyor or a developer or anything like that, let us know and I'll send you a brochure. So,
and that's it, guys. We're just here to promote.
Yeah, that's the end of the show. The typical thing with a Q&A, if you've got any questions, please throw them in the chat with a Q at the beginning. Just helps us find them, makes it a little bit easier to see. We're currently joined by Phil Dunn, Ross, Kenny Rebel, Blackbeard, and Abby. So good evening, welcome in. We have a question first that I'll throw out there. So this was posed on Reddit earlier in the week. I think it was actually last week. Can you get an airsoft loadout for $200? Now they use dollars. But can you get an airsoft loadout for £200?
By loadout, do you include a gun? Can't say.
So they were including the gun. So this is one of the things between kind of MilSim and generic airsoft skirmishing and things like that. But basically, they were talking about rather than a loadout being sort of I want to look. I don't know, like a French resistance fighter or something like that. Like they were kind of going down the route of a rifle. I would probably include eye protection and a decent pair of boots. I would say those are probably the three things that you need to do airsoft.
Boots you can get away with a little bit because yes, ankle protection is great, but you can work around that with decent pair of trainers anyway and stuff like that. The rifle's going to be the hard bit.
Yeah.
I know there's some brands out there.
Are you aware of many... Because there's obviously a number of... This one's back. Previously, I would say in the last 5 years, you didn't generally tend to have so many WhatsApp groups as buy and sell groups. It generally tends to be sort of forums online. So places like... there was a Pew
Hub, wasn't it?
Yeah. And like stuff like that was basically like a forum based thing. And I know we had one on the podcast website for a little while, but then shut it down because it just wasn't used as much basically.
It's funny you mentioned that because someone literally posted a link to a sales forum probably about 30 minutes ago. Let me find it.
Oh, okay.
Where is Ryan James?
You've got Pre-Fired. Pre-Fired was the one I was thinking of. So you got Pre-Fired, Airsoft Hub. They buy and sell used airsoft equipment, Airsoft Bazaar, and then something called usedairsoft.co.uk. So there's a number on there, but it doesn't. So I haven't frequented any of them. I don't know about you.
There's one literally called airsoft-forums.co.uk. I've never used it before, but yeah, I've seen him post the links a couple of times, so I might actually have a bruise after the show. You never know what deals you can find. But yeah, there's bits like that online.
So you can find relatively cheap deals on there, but it depends if you're going to go for a decent airsoft gun, doesn't it? Really, because I mean, you could spend 50 quid on an airsoft gun. It'll be solid plastic and probably like,
little Springer.
Comes with those 0.12 gram BBs that you don't have to chrono because they just fly in the air.
I think half the problem with the gun side of things is that the base gun, cheapest you're probably looking is maybe 110 to 120, but that's one mag, no batteries, no chargers. Once you start adding the battery, that's 30 quid. Charger, another 30 quid for a half decent one. You've blown your budget already now. Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's doable-ish, but it's tricky.
Yeah. Ross in the chat says, I would say yes. 1, boots, you can get a surplus for 20 quid. 2, eye protection bollies. I think it's bollies for 20 quid. And 3, there's a decent well M4 with MOSFET for like 160. It's pretty good out of the box.
But again, do you say the 160 for just the well M4 with a MOSFET? You've then got 2 batteries, because you shouldn't just have 1 battery, and a charger. That I would consider them part of your loadout.
Yeah. So on patrol base right now, this isn't. Can I just clarify to anyone listening? This isn't an advertisement thing for any specific shops or anything like that. This is literally just the first one I found. But on patrol base, you can get a G&G armament combat machine CM16 Raider full stock assault rifle for 90 quid at the moment. They are out of stock.
That'd be why it's cheap.
Yeah,
I think patrol base actually do package deals as well, don't they?
Possibly. I know Zero One I think did package deals.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, because I just searched combat machine, like CM16, because one of my first guns that I bought like properly new was a CM16 and had absolute cracking job with it. And I ended up turning it into a DMR because I didn't really want to get rid of it. But it is a hard one to do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, my first gun was a Pioneer Defender by Neutral. That was £110, and that was going back a few years now as well. So
here we go. Right, there's a beginner bundle on patrol base.
What there might be.
So this is a SEMA CM513 M4 SD beginner bundle. I have no experience with a SEMA CM513, so by all means, people shout if it's naff. But you get in there a M4 SD, a battery, charger, charging bag, BBs, and iPro. Now I don't know what the state of the iPro is, but for you're only spending 145 on.
That's
blimey! With the charger, it comes with a charging bag as well, so you get like a little fireproof bag. The iPro is neutral, so I mean it is a brand.
Half decent, yeah.
Yeah. Pro mesh goggles it comes with the iPro.
Not terrible. They'll get you started, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think I got loads
and
of bundles.
4,000 BBs. So there you go. That's So you get a SEMA Sport CM513 M4 SD, a 4,000 Delta Armory 0.25 Diamond BBs, a 9.6 1600 milliamp NIMH battery, an NIMH battery charger, battery safe charging bag, and a set of new Pro mesh goggles for 140 quid. 150 quid.
If you scroll down a little bit, they've got the Spectre arms on there, 9mm Spectre arms. That's 170 quid. I don't think it comes with the iPro though.
So maybe it is doable. Maybe that is something you can, I don't know. I mean, MQuimby combat machines are a bit outdated at this point. Spectre and Arcturus are a lot better, around 160-ish. So.
Maybe it's just about doable. Just about squeeze it in.
Yeah. Well, I've never spent 20 quid on a pair of boots. I don't know if I'd want to spend 20 quid on a pair of boots. I've spent... Most of the decent, like grade 1, 2-ish that I'd be willing to buy were sort of 40. But I know you can buy cheap boots. I just don't know whether I would personally want to buy 20 quid worth of boots.
In my head, I can't justify buying secondhand boots. Because one, I've got some weird shaped feet anyway, for starters. So trying to remold those boots that's already been used and bedded in for someone just won't work for me.
Yeah.
And 2, someone else's feet's been in there.
See, this is the thing that Andy doesn't like. Andy is definitely not a foot person. He finds that gross. My wife's the same. Like buying secondhand shoes. I've got no problem with secondhand shoes. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like pants and socks, probably wouldn't be going out and about buying those. But yeah. So okay. So what are we saying then? So ultimately, we reckon we can get the iPro. I mean, with 150 quid, if you've spent that, you've pretty much got. I mean, you could get a pair of Edge Tactical, like the fast Edge or something like that.
They're like 20 quid for the.
Which decent. I mean, I'm not saying that New Prol aren't rated, but obviously, if it comes with mesh, if you want some proper shooting glasses, something like that, then there's something out there. You could obviously go down the route of sort of second-hand military stuff. Although second-hand iPro is always a little bit dodgy. Be careful with that.
Yeah, you don't know what it's been for. It could have been like dropped and something crushed it, but it looks okay, but it could be fragile and stuff like that. Technically, you're meant to replace the iPro with that first BB strike that hits them.
Yeah,
they are no longer.
I always find that funny. I always find that funny. It's like when people go, "Yeah, I've bought my iPro. I've tested it point blank with a 500 FPS sniper rifle. Yeah, absolutely no damage on it at all." And you're like, "Okay, cool. So you're bidding those and buying some new ones, are you?" No. I'm going to field them for the next 6 years. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's. I trust my iPro, so I'm in that boat where it's been hit. It's okay, but as soon as I see a mark on there, I've got to replace them.
Yeah,
because
especially when it's on the inside. Hey, Ash.
Yes, when it's technically, I've still got that pair, and they are buffing.
But you can just replace the lens on that, can't you? Because they were were they Sawflies?
No, they were the Edge Overlords. I think they were. If I remember right.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think they've buffed out a little bit now, because I'm sure it's just the white powder from the BB as it rolled through and goes. But yeah, they're still in the bag as a backup.
Mm.
You never know. But yeah, so we should be able to get sub £200 loadout going.
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair. It's not necessarily going to be the best loadout going. Like, I'm not in any way slating like a SEMA rifle or a G&G rifle or anything like that. But generally, if you compare the price point of something like an MWS TM type jobby, or I mean any other brands, basically, if you start comparing a £1,000 rifle to a £100 rifle, then there are going to be price differences, and there's going to be differences in terms of the quality of build, etc. But I say, like, literally for me, I bought a G&G CM16. It was perfectly fine. It's a platform that you can get upgraded and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, I always find that with airsoft guns, because it's effectively like the old skit about, I've had this broom for 40 years. I've had 12 new handles and 12 new brushes on it. Like, people, like, it's like, yeah, I bought a TM and then basically ripped all the internals out and then just put this on there, and then I replaced the handguard and the foregrip and all that, and you're like, okay, cool. So basically, it's not in any way a TM.
I feel like this is a dig at my TM.
No, it's not a dig. It's not a dig at all. I find it funny. It's just that we buy these rifles and we go, oh yeah, it's this. But then as soon as people kind of start changing bits of it out and modding it and stuff like that, it's almost no longer. I mean, you must get to a certain percentage of change on there, and it's just not like anywhere near the original rifle.
I can tell you now, on my rifle, there is 1% OEM TM on it.
It's not a TM anymore, then, surely.
It's still 1% of TM.
Yeah.
Yes.
Blackbeard says you'd be better off renting a rifle from the site until you can save up a little extra to get a better, more reliable loadout. Completely agree. I mean, the other advantage to doing that as well, you can meet people, then you chat to them and you go, oh, I really like what you're using. What's that? Oh, it's an MP5. I've not seen one of them before. Or whatever platform that you lay your eyes on, you start adoring over. Because let's be honest, the number of us that have all got into the sport and then go, oh yeah, I'm going to buy this and buy that and then go buy this, and then like, oh, that didn't work, so I'm just going to put that to one side or sell it or whatever, and then buy something new to replace it. Optics were normally. Optics only came to mind because of your classic Vortex collection of T-shirts, but optics are an absolute classic on that one. The number of like optics that for me I bought that it's like, oh yeah, I'll try this, try that, and then like the dye or like the little laser inside would crap out,
it just
or
would
like
stop
battery.
adjusting or something like that.
Yeah, or you over adjust it. I had I spent a bit of money on this because I really liked the concept, but I had a 3-dot laser like the Predator sight.
Oh, okay.
And then for some reason, I don't know if I over adjusted one of the lasers, but one of the lasers just went like proper skewy, so it's like it's a tri-dot laser with a lazy eye, basically. So annoyingly though, it hasn't gone far enough that it becomes the third dot on like the other side of the triangle yet. So hopefully that will go at some point. But apparently Tony, I always wanted a P90 when I first started, and I'm glad I never got one. But they're cool. P90s
they
are
cool. I kind of still want to do a Stargate loadout. God, but then do you go P90 or do you go MP5?
Well, that's the thing. So. Mate of mine from my old work, he's been watching or rewatching all the Stargate stuff, and we've been having this chat exactly because I was like, oh yeah, I really like the P90s from Stargate, but apparently it took them absolute ages to get from like an MP5 to a P90, or an M16 to a P90, and then they had the P90 for a while, and then they went to something else, and they've all got like these weird and unique things now. Like apparently one of them's got a shorty M4 with like drum mag on it and stuff like that, and an L can, which is a really weird setup.
They've got a new series coming out soon as well, aren't they? There's rumored to be a new series coming out soon, or film, one or two. Because Amazon bought the rights to the Stargate franchise. Keep an eye on that. I can't wait.
I have to take your word for it. I don't know. I mean, I would assume that they do because either Amazon, Netflix, or Disney are likely to have bought it, aren't they, at this point?
Yeah, I'm definitely sure it was Amazon. They bought a whole studio, I think. What's the one with the lion?
Lion Studios.
That
is a studio, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, Lion Studios.
You know what I'm on about? It's got the lion.
Yeah.
It's got the gold ring around it.
Oh, Metro Goldwyn Mayer.
That's it. So they bought them, and Stargate was in that, and everybody got really happy.
Ah.
Yes.
Nice. Right, we've had some other questions already come in, so let's just. Blackbeard said, realistically, no about the £200 without a rifle and everything that goes with it, and yes, easily put together a loadout for £200, but realistically, you're looking at £200 for just a rifle, BB's, battery, charger, and mags. There's a few people that I didn't say hello to at the beginning. I'm really sorry. So M Quimby, hello, welcome, and Terry G, what's up? So question from Ross: are you guys attending Defiant events next weekend?
Are you?
I am not. I am having a 4-year-old's birthday party.
Just as chaotic.
Yes. Yes. Almost exactly the same as coordinating a load of people on a battle scene. It's running a load of 4-year-olds around. But...
do you need someone to run around with a whiteboard for you?
Yeah, I do. I'll get my tactical whiteboard out. I'm still in design with my kind of remake of the battle board kind of concept with mission tailors. So I haven't spoken to mission tailors yet because I like to have a firm concept in mind. But I've seen a load of like sniper observation boards and stuff that I know a lot of people are looking at for the JBG August event for the recce training, recon training, whatever we're calling it, which I do really like. But I'm coming up with kind of adaptations to my battle board design idea now, based on, because I'd never come across sniper observation boards before. I don't know if you've ever used one.
No, I haven't. I can't say I have. But I'm guessing it's just a small board just to jot down like.
Well, I mean, the boards I've seen have basically got like a board that you put your pad into, and then it's got like sides, and then some of them have like a cover that comes all the way over, so you kind of have just an empty square that you can lean into and do there.
Okay.
But there's a few little kind of cool concepts, like for example, like a chem light in there to light it up and stuff, so you can see what you're doing. But I've been. I spent a good 20 minutes the other day drafting out, like, how can I make a folding magnetic whiteboard that's A1 size?
You know, like you get those map things on your wrist. Why can't you just replace the clear bit with a flexible whiteboard?
So, flexible whiteboards over time don't flex flat. Right, so I want something that is proper flat. So I've been toying with the idea, and I don't want to talk about it too much because every time I seem to talk about things on this show, I then find them, and it's not. I'm not linking it to the fact that people are listening to this and then developing it. But I just like we talked about a flamethrower a while ago, and then I can't remember who it was now. One of the famous YouTubers started doing a thing where he's got like this flamethrower made out of like a CO2 canister. That they'll play and so Silo.
Yeah, to be fair, Silo gets some wacky stuff all the time.
Yeah. So don't go wrong. I'm not saying that in any way like there's an IP infringement or anything like that. I get it, but I've been toying around with like strips of thin steel, like stainless steel, like 1 mil thick or whatever, and then just like a meter and a half of these things like, stitched into a fabric board, and then. You can magnetize your map to it, and then all the magnets and everything would stick to that.
Okay.
And then you could roll it up, and you end up with like a big tube.
What you should do as well is if you don't roll it up and it stays like in a flat thing, you could probably also get padding on one side, and it can be your sit map.
Yeah. Make it strong enough, so you can have it as like a hammock.
That's it. There you go. Yeah.
So.
But on the tangent. Ross, I will be there next weekend at Defiant. I won't tell you what team I'm going to be on though. You have to.
It's going to be. You're going to be. I reckon you're going to be Spearhead.
What makes you say that?
Because you're very tanny.
I'm wearing green.
Yeah, but you've got multicam hat on.
Yeah, it's just a hat. Hold on, let me find a different hat.
So you're Team Tomahawk then, from what we've worked out there.
Where's my other hats? There we go. Just do. Go full vortex and put a green hat.
Yeah. What do you mean go full vortex? I bet you've got vortex. You're the only person I know. I genuinely don't think I've ever seen you wear anything else other than vortex t-shirts. Not
true. I started wearing JBG t-shirts.
Oh, okay.
To be fair, the Vortex t-shirts I've got, they're old, they're worn, and they're just comfy. They're soft and comfy. I just like them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fair enough.
But no, I have got many different sorts of t-shirts, so don't worry about that.
Yeah. But, yes. Right, Daniel Guest said he'd buy my pants. Thanks, man. Unfortunately, one specific person, I don't think I can make enough money off of you. So yeah, unfortunately, I won't be there, Ross, but Ash will be. I don't know. I don't think Andy or Lance are going. But I am hoping to get to. For me, I'm hoping to get to the one in October, the Real Cap event in October.
Okay.
Because it's the weekend before my birthday, so I'm gonna, if I can afford it, because ultimately I have no source of income at the moment. So. Yeah. Abby says, can you run HPA in MilSim? I've heard it's frowned upon because you can't put your gun down. I've never been. I don't think I've ever been aware of somebody
Mike,
saying
we've been kicked off of YouTube. Apparently,
have we?
Potentially, yes. We've violated community guidelines.
How have we done that?
I think it is the word GUN.
No.
That's the only thing I can think of.
No,
Yeah,
it's come back. It's come back.
Is it come
should have
back?
just come back. I think it's probably just gone down temporarily.
Brad, if you're in the chat still and you can hear us, please tell me it's come back.
YouTube, come in.
Test it.
So it says it's live on YouTube at the moment on my screen.
Yeah, I've had a couple of people tell me now that it's gone down.
No, that's fine. Let's have a look. Sorry for interrupting the show for this short technical hitch. It would appear that this video has been removed for violating community guidelines. Excellent. Cool.
Woohoo!
Right, well, no, we have to deal with that afterwards.
You know what? It's got to be to do with the pricing and the words. It's got to be.
Oh, I hope it isn't. Our platform is a place where a broad range of perspectives are encouraged and we don't shy away from disagreement and debate. And yet... it won't let us be on there. So
I'm guessing we can't get it back up without closing down and starting back up, can we?
Not easily, no. This is going to be an interesting one. So,
oh dear, guys.
Having said that, no, I think people are kind of coming back on it. I don't know. Oh, I didn't need this week. This is annoying.
Clearly, we're doing something right to be recognised by YouTube.
Or not.
Yes, it doesn't show as live at the moment.
No, we're not live at the moment. I don't know why. Okay, right. Well, we'll carry on from a purely Facebook and Twitch perspective, which is particularly frustrating because I'm now going to have to, this will be available live on YouTube afterwards, basically. Let
me get the Twitch.
I will look into that as to what the challenge has come into about. But Abby says, "Can you run HPL on MilSim? I've heard it's frowned upon because you can't put your gun down." I say I've not heard of anybody have a go from that perspective. I've heard of challenges with charging HPA systems, but
so
that's about it, really.
On that, I don't think HPA is frowned upon as much as it used to be, but I do know there's a lot of MilSim companies that say you have to hide the line, so either through the sling, up the sleeve of your shirt, and stuff like that, because again they want to go for that immersion sort of look, and the dangly tube isn't immersive to some people.
I don't think it's that bad though, is it? It's not like you've got living fire hose coming off the bottom of your rifle.
You did used to have people.
I don't know what we're allowed to say anymore. This has really freaked me out.
Let's go for riff. Just say riff.
Let's go for riff.
It's a riff. But yeah, so that's the main thing. Are we actually live on Twitch? I can't find us.
We are live on Twitch. There's one person watching at the moment.
Hopefully.
Oh yeah, I mean basically. I don't think there's an issue with HPA and MilSim at all. I think the challenge is the rate of fire.
Sorry, hold on.
There's a challenge with the rate of fire. You know, if you've got someone blapping around, 40, 50 rounds a second on full auto, then that's obviously not realistic from that perspective.
No, that's a bit tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, I see no reason why. I mean, there's fundamentally a HPA platform is a platform in which it's AG, springs, anything like that, gas. It's not really much different to any of those per se. It is just the line, really. But don't know.
Sorry, I am listening.
I don't think it's frowned upon, Abby. I think it would be absolutely acceptable. I think there would be certain events where obviously you will be restrained from a loadout perspective. So, for example, if you were doing a Vietnam style event and then you rocked up with a P90, for example, that wouldn't really be appropriate from that point of view. But from it being a HPA, I can't really see it. Certain event organisers might have specific rules on it, but yeah, don't know. Ross Picton says we're now live on TV, so don't say F at hashtag. Oh, sorry, Ross.
Oof, that's it. We're banned now from that as well.
Hashtag.
Say that a bit faster. It could be misconstrued as something else.
Oh. It's nice. It's nice to see for once that all the comments to our right hand side are all blue. That's very rare.
It is very rare.
But Marky Mark says, "What's the alternative to a 58 pattern water bottle?"
A normal water bottle.
See, I really like the. I don't know if I've got one to hand.
Technically, in Mike's audience, does that even exist? Does a 58 pattern water bottle exist?
Well, no, it's a 58 pattern canteen.
Exactly.
But I will accept that, unfortunately, sometimes we have to be diverse in how we talk on this show to compensate for the diversity that we have in language. Basically, I think just a normal water bottle will do. If you just want some little...
There was an Aussie 1 litre cantina sort of thing they did.
Yeah, but I think the thing for me is the rubber seal around the lids.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure this would have had one.
Well, I like the old school. So the old school like American canteens, like they're kind of like the tapered. They look very similar to a 58 pattern Osprey, but they have like a paper liner on the inside, and the number of those that I've seen leak in people's kit because the just the seal on it is rubbish. Whereas I think the Crusader, the BCB Crusader bottle, like the Osprey one, they generally have like I think it's like a red rubber seal on them. And if you can get them with a decent seal on there, you will struggle to have that leak.
Square one.
Yeah, so you can buy them. I don't know what the seal's like on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's ultimately, I would say, probably one of the biggest thing for me. It's ultimately, you can have a number of different styles of bottles and everything like that, but you just want to make sure it's got a decent seal on it, because if you're trying to carry water in your bag, last thing you want is just lead on it and all of a sudden it bursts. But
yeah, that's
if you want to go cheap, then smart water bottle, like a smart water bottle, Evian, something like that. Probably nothing that's like a thin plastic in case it because you can burst those. And something with a resealable lid.
Upside to a standard water bottle, once you're done with it, it flat packs.
And
then it takes up less room. And it can be
Tesco do like little, like the 500ml like water bottles, like the ones you just chuck in the fridge or whatever like that. But the lids on them, they just pop straight off. So once you the Plastic one, yeah. The lids on the Tesco's ones, once you've popped them open, they just like a press fit shut. So if you squeeze that hard, that just pops back up again. So don't buy those. They are a nightmare. So
but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of tactical ones, if you want to go down the route of keeping it like militarized and stuff like that, then a lot of different countries have different. I'm going to call it a water bottle just for the fact of it's Mark on the chat and he'll shout at me otherwise. But there are a lot of options out there in terms of what you can buy. But yeah.
No, yeah, there's a few. There is a few.
What do you use, Ash? Is it purely bladder for you?
Can I be completely honest?
You not even use a bladder?
Hydration is the worst thing for me, and I forget all the time. All the time. I finished like a 48-hour MilSim, and I'm thinking, I am absolutely screwed here. Because I forget about it. Kenny, yes, I believe the YouTube feed is dead. We said some words we weren't allowed to say.
I'm still looking into why we've been kicked off, but it doesn't actually give the opportunity to check. I don't know why. So I'll upload it later. So this will be recorded and then upload. So apologies if you can't watch live on YouTube at the moment. But yeah. Basically, we are solely on Facebook and Twitch tonight, and hopefully Chris said they said bum and tit. That gets us kicked off Facebook as well now.
No, that's us done. We're Twitch only from now on. Twitch only. What's that Twitch alternative that has no rules? That's what we need.
OnlyFans.
No, there's another one. That will be where you find us from now on.
Yeah. We'll set our fee as free and stuff like that. Like, maybe we can just log on and just find some there. Call sign Samurai. What's your current radio setup, and are you happy with it, or do you have any upgrade plans? Bonus question: have you integrated, or do you plan to integrate ATAC into your comms setup?
Oh, Thomas is just saying the same thing as well.
Yes, I think Thomas
that's
might
the same
be.
Person. Thomas is probably.
I think Thomas might be call sign Samurai.
Yes.
Thank you, Thomas, for transferring over.
I currently run a Baofeng 152 clone, fist mic, and just a lead to go to the Peltors, and I've actually been enjoying it and working quite well for me just doing that. It's quite a clean setup. I don't have to worry about different hearing protections not working. I tried the rake hours for a long time, and they just kept on interfering if I was too close to people, and it was a nightmare because you didn't get a good seal in your ear. But yeah, that's my go-to at the moment, and I've got a antenna on there from what's the guy who does all the flexible antennas? I can't remember.
The TVAS Stinger.
No, it's
from...
sort of braided thing, sort of thing.
The Stinger, the Baz.
The Baz. But yeah, so I have that. That goes over my right shoulder. Everything else goes over my left shoulder in terms of wires, and that works quite well. But that's my main setup for comms anyway. What about you, Mike?
So I have a variety of Baofeng. So I use a 152, mostly just for the battery life. So if you've got something that's running as effectively like a base station or fob comms or something like that, then a Baofeng 152 is quite good for that. Difference for that, if you're running sort of a TL position, then a UV80, I think it's the 82, does the dual PTT. So you can actually run off the radio itself to different frequencies depending on which PTT you're pushing, which is quite handy if you want to do, just mobile comms, just the radio itself. The Baofeng UV5Rs, I've probably got about 8 of those floating around, which I generally tend to give to people if they want to, like if they don't have radios and stuff like that. Then I've got a few spares because they're quite easy. And then I've got a couple. I went through a bit of a habit at one point of just like every time Baofeng brought out like a new walkie-talkie, I was like, oh yeah, grab that. That looks cool. So I have a whole like mixture of different brands and like they're all UVs and then they're all like different numbers, like the 6 and like the 83 and the 900s or whatever.
See, I was interested in their digital ones for a while, but I could never justify buying another radio.
No, I mean, this is the thing. Ultimately, I think, and by all means, someone can disagree with me, but I'm pretty certain that a lot of the Baofeng setups are probably quite similar. Now, there are obviously enhanced features that you can get on there. So, for example, some of them have a different like torch setup and stuff like that. Some of them have the wireless transfer of frequencies now, so you don't have to sort of sit there and manually program both. You can program one and then just tap them together, and they basically learn the frequencies by that. I've never really had a problem with the Baofeng, to be honest. But the biggest problem I think I've ever found is people just having compatible bits of kit.
Yes,
you'll find that people will buy a radio and buy an aerial, but quite often, realistically, the aerial that comes with the Baofeng's pretty decent. If you want to get a better aerial, then there are better ones out there. So, for example, like the Nagoya 771 or 777, they're reputable to be quite good with a Baofeng, but not just because it's physically compatible doesn't mean that every aerial is going to give you good compatibility. And there are huge differences that can happen by just the smallest little variation. So, for example, like, the aerial's not attuned to the exact frequencies that you want to be using. That makes a difference. Your comm setup, like your headsets or something like that, they don't really communicate with your PTT. Your PTT is struggling to communicate with your radio and stuff like that. And all those little things that, whilst they work when you're standing right next to someone in the fob and you're doing a quick radio check and something like that, as soon as you're out in the field, you could be 20 meters apart from each other and then immediately not be able to hear each other, which you see so regularly. And I think that's the biggest failure with comms, is the fact that just sometimes they don't need to be overly complicated.
No. But
when they work, they're good.
So going back on antennas, Terry is clearly in my bank accounts and different like that. S&R comms is the area I've got. So, yeah, that's been working flawlessly for years now. But yeah, they're a bit of a lead time to get hold of them, if I remember right, because he does custom make them sometimes. I'm not sure if he started batching them now, but yeah, they're great antenna, that, and it's literally flexible as anything, so it does go straight on my shoulder. I don't feel it or anything like that. Tucks into the back of the plate carrier as well. But yeah, in terms
so it's
of
very
PTTs. The most
just on that with the aerial, it's very similar to, I think that there's something called like the TVAS Stinger, which is something that's produced by Baz from Gunman and Octo and stuff like that. Which I don't know what the comparisons are. I don't know one's better than the other, but it looks very similar.
Fair enough. So yeah, jumping onto the whole PTT problem as well. You got commercial and military grade PTTs, which for a NATO plug baffles me that it's so simple to change over by just moving one pin to another pin. But just buying the wrong one of them, they're not realizing it to what your headset does or what anything else does, can cause you so many griefs and stuff like that. So it's always good to double check what you've got, if it's commercial or military spec.
Apparently, content feature. Sorry, I've just found on YouTube content featuring firearms policy at 15:01 on the stream. Content that shows someone live streaming while holding, handling, or transporting a firearm isn't allowed on YouTube. Channels not in compliance with this policy may temporarily use their ability to live stream. I'm pretty certain that none of us were doing that.
I picked up a Vortex hat.
Yeah.
Does that count? Is my water bottle a gun? Because I picked that up a few times as well. It's got writing on it. I'd probably put a contestant for that and see what they do.
Yes, no, we will. We'll deal with that after the show.
But yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah. Well, it'd be interesting to see, because we can actually they've given me a timestamp for it, so we can actually specifically look at what the timestamps are, and see what was done or said at that point. So, but
what it is, it's the intro. Do you reckon it'd be the intro?
No, not 15 minutes in. It won't be.
I know. That's pre-recorded though. That'd be allowed, isn't it?
It is pre-recorded. But yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to change that. Oh, great.
Oh dear.
Yeah, gravy. Sorry, to go back to Call Sign Samurai's comments about the radio setup. So I would like to get a proper 152, like a Harris 152 at some point, just because I think they're cool looking. I know obviously with the KDUs and stuff like that, you can do some cool and funky things with them. Realistically, it's an awful lot of weight to carry around, and with the whole concept of reducing your weight pattern as best as possible to, the more lighter you are, the lighter you are, then obviously there is an advantage there when you play style and stuff. But I do want to get into playing around with ATAC, and I've been toying around with this whole mesh-tastic stuff for a while now. And I was planning to get some sort of close to Christmas to properly play around with. I just haven't had the chance to, and I don't know if I'm going to now for a little while. So
I might have. I think Ryan's going to be there next weekend, and we've been messing around with ATACs and ITAC and stuff like that. So it might be interesting to see if that works next weekend as well. But yeah, it's something that's worth looking into if you've got a whole squad that can do it. Another thing that's a little bit easier to get around is Ares Alpha. You can set some stuff up on that just as well as you can on ATAX, but it's not required to have a special license. Well, I say license, but like server or anything like that. It's just done by Wi-Fi then.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to do, and like the ability to kind of map where your team are and everything on game, I think would make a massive difference. And I think any intel advantage that you can sneak across, against the enemy team is going to help. Now, be that from being able to specifically map your teams on site, or even just knowing where your TLs are, so you don't have to run the risk of like, oh, you're in the wrong building, no, turn around, go back the other way type thing. You can give that level of feedback without having to rely on verbal communication to tell you, oh, we're in this building. Oh, right, okay, I don't think you are, but so I think if you can do that, then obviously that's an advantage. But it's also just it's cool. Let's be fair. Like we all play MilSim for the whole kind of, I want to play toy soldier and I want to play with gadgets and toys, and I want to drive around in the tank and the Humvee and the tactical vehicles, and I want to go and do the cool missions and stuff like that. And I can just imagine sitting there with like a big thing on the wall, like you got all the team coordinated around. I think that would just be a cool thing to look at. So.
Yeah, no. But one thing on that though is that 90% of the military don't have that stuff either. It's only a select few areas of it that do. So.
But we don't play forces. We don't say forces. We don't play military forces and MilSim to emulate the canteen staff, do we? Let's be fair. You want to emulate the whole special forces type thing. You do. That's
wouldn't that be cool though? You turn up to a MilSim event and there's a canteen staff. Granted, it might be run by the events company that's running.
It would be really fucking annoying if you've booked onto a weekend event and you're told, right, you're in charge of potatoes.
Get mashing.
Yeah. Right, you've got a specialist task in this weekend. Soup.
I need these spuds peeled by 0500.
On the subject of spuds, Chris said, "Oh, did I hear that Pegasus is now a spuds?" So Pegasus was originally a spud. Pegasus, when Ash and Mark were sort of both involved with the show together, we Ash and Mark, MASH works quite well. But basically, we just went a bit of a dump of everybody, in all honesty, just to kind of clear out back to Lance, Andy, and myself for a little while, because we were just getting overwhelmed. There was too much going on. We were trying to do the enemy. We were trying to do this. We've obviously got the podcast, website. There's all these other things that we were sort of trying to get involved with, and it was just becoming too much. So we kind of boiled it back to where we knew we were comfortable with, and we're sort of trying to just build it slowly. Ash is obviously very helpful from the perspective of sort of helping produce the 24-hour show previously. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, hats off to Mark for all of his help that he was able to give us, and really appreciated that for the time that he was with us as well. So yeah, it's not a spud anymore. We're not calling them spuds anymore. No. It's just Ash. Ross says, what MilSim event would you love to attend or host?
I want to do a MilSim in America at some point. I do. Because even though some of them do look like just a normal skirmish day from the videos and stuff like that, the amount of effort that goes into it from the organisers looks awesome, and the sites and venues they've got. Yeah, that's definitely one on the bucket list for MilSims.
Yeah, I mean it's the same. I mean, like, I think any opportunity to play in a large open scale venue is going to be a big draw. You look at Border War, you look at, I mean, even to be fair, Ground Zero down in Southampton, near Southampton in the UK, which is a big airsoft site. That's bigger than a lot of airsoft sites that you generally play at. Like MilSim sites, for the most part, mean, you could probably spend 20 minutes to walk from one side to the other.
Something like that.
On some of the largest ones. I mean, Longmoor is really actually quite small in comparison, you know.
At the moment, yes, definitely. We've not been able to go into the trench system that they've got built because no one knows how to maintain it. And then
no, but even then, you're only talking 15 minutes probably to traverse from one side to the other. If you just had a little casual walk, it's not. You're not.
I've
talking...
only known Longmoor from the current Longmoor. I've never been to Longmoor before. Then.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's fair. I mean, for those that have played the National Airsoft event, National Airsoft Festival at Ground Zero, it will swallow 3,000 players. You obviously get bottlenecks and things where there's a lot more activity going on, but you can play MilSim style there quite comfortably, sort of more on the peripherals and the fringes into the site, and I can see that being an absolute cracking MilSim venue. But things like Border War, things like MilSim West, any of the opportunities to play in a big game zone would be good. For me, I think the actual event I would love to attend doesn't exist yet. I want to go to a MilSim and play where it's not. This is going to sound stupid. It's not focused around airsoft per se. So, for example, for those that are aware of the Legion events type things, so you're in battle groups and stuff like that, and you're effectively firefighting other teams and sort of manoeuvring around and sort of clearing buildings and stuff like that. But I want to do the MilSim, which is, you're like you're a force in the area, but then you're up against a lot of civilians. And I don't mean civilians that later turn out to be rebels or something like that. I really want that proper shoot or no shoot, and you don't know, if the person that you're looking at is a bad guy or a good guy or whatever, or they could just be neutral. Whereas most events where the civilian population is there, if you have a large civilian population, they will later turn out to be enemy players, because that's how life works. You can't book a 24-hour, 48-hour event with 30 players that are just going to sit there and just be civilians all weekend, because people don't necessarily want to pay all that money to do that.
I think the problem with that, and the reason why it's not happened, is that once you're at a site, you see the faces, and then once that person does something wrong, you instantly that's tarnished them now, and then but there's just not enough people to mingle in with to hide away. I think that's what would aid that. If you had a massive do the AI 500 where they get thousands of people there or something like that, and have that sort of scale of people where you can hide in a crowd quite easily without being noticed. Yeah.
I mean, you look at the riots in Paris and France and everything like that, that sort of combative nature. So you, for all intents and purposes, that is a combat situation that's going on there. You've got French police doing sort of riot control and everything like that, and then you've got civilians basically just proper argy-bargy up against them. But even then as well, it's kind of the experience side of things. So for example, having specialist roles that actually mean something a bit more. So rather than having a bomb technician that just rocks up and has to wait at a site for half an hour to defuse it, right, I'm here, and now there's just a countdown. Actually having something that bomb technician is trained to do to defuse that situation. So they are given a book in advance that they've got to kind of try and learn a little bit and actually go and do that task. Or for example, if you've got linesmen, I mean, we've talked about this for telephone lines and things like that. If you've got a comms system that's literally telephones between catering, you know what, genuinely, I'd love to go to an event. I'd love to go to an event where there actually is a team of people there that are effectively running the catering side of it. So you rock up and it's you feel like you're going to a canteen with your mess tin and stuff like that, and then you just get given food and you're kind of like sitting down with everyone else and like grumbling about the quality of it. Like it's that sort of experience that I would love to do, which probably is the more MilSim part of MilSim. If that makes sense.
What we need to do is somehow work out how to implement keep talking and no one explodes or nobody explodes into a airsoft game, don't we?
Yeah.
Because that is an awesome game. I'm looking at something. I can't describe it.
I mean, you know, it's just when you look at the sort of events where you do, which are kind of the more. I mean, it is the more role play side of things. Maybe I think for me, I think we've talked about this on the show before, but like MilSim is not just about airsoft. It's almost like 40% mates and sort of getting to do things with them, and you know, you're rolling around tactically and sort of working as a team, etc. And then you got sort of 40% role play, and then it's almost just 20% airsoft. Like, you know, the combat side of things and getting to light people up is good fun, but I don't think that's why people MilSim for the most part.
I think that's been lost in the recent years. I think people go to MilSim thinking there's going to be a big tear up and a big firefight, but as some people do push, some companies do push towards that now. But yeah, I don't like it when it turns into a massive skirmish. It's kind of ruins it for me. I'd quite happily sit on stag for 6 hours because I've been told to, because there might be an attack.
But there needs to be something going on. You can't just have people on stag for no reason.
No, 100%. There needs to be something going on. But I think too many people do turn up just for a tear up now instead of actually doing objectives and working to a greater vision, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I
mean, you know, I don't think there should be a winner of a loser in MilSims. I don't think if there's a scoring system, which is a point-based thing, which is like one team can win or the other. To me, that's not really a MilSim. Like the whole concept of a MilSim is the experience and, you know, the immersion that you get from that event. But
yeah.
Terry said you'd love the training for Northern Ireland. I can imagine. Like, but I mean, even things like that, like, you know, have an enemy team. Have an enemy team that when you take them hostage, you can't just have a chat with them. Like, because you don't speak the language that they're speaking. You know, you look at all the, I don't know, Afghan-based, Iraq-based events, you know, Vietnam-based events. Whenever you capture someone, it's all right. It's like, yeah, all right, mate. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, no, not too bad, right. Have you got any intel on you? No, I haven't got any intel on me. Have them so that they can't speak to you. Just treat it like they won't talk to you. There's a language barrier. So you waffling at them, they're not going to know what you're talking about. So then you've got to have an interpreter. And like, for example, the OPFOR can only talk to the interpreter, and the interpreter can only translate that through you, perhaps, or something like that. I don't know. You know?
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting.
We've done events at APOC where the enemy team were effectively all, I can't remember what nationality they were. I think they were Russian. Or they all spoke Russian or something like that. So literally, you're fighting an enemy force. You can't understand what they're shouting at you. So it makes a difference. So in answer to the question, I don't know. I don't think there is an event.
Mike hasn't invented it yet.
No, I don't want to invent it. I just want to go to these things. But the niche events are what's good. Like, you know, you look at Defiance, Mac Alpha, Machiavellian series, which is like the reconnaissance aspect.
Yeah.
You know, Legion events were good. Some of the role play stuff of that. I've been in riots at a Legion event where we had no idea what's going on, and suddenly we start seeing bricks flying towards us. We're like, we're at a MilSim. What's this? And also rubber bricks that they were issued and things like that. You know, it makes a big difference. Yeah, there you go. Apocalypse. The last event, like I was a beggar. I was a mute beggar. I wasn't going to talk to anyone. And then they had to deal with that, and the Blue 4 team didn't know what to do at all. So, yeah. Right. We've got a couple questions. I'll come back to Marcus's in a second. So we had a couple questions come in before the show, which annoyingly have shut down from my screen. But one of the questions was basically how what point does MilSim start becoming inappropriate for the whole role play aspect? So, for example, when you're talking about things like interrogations, you're talking about arrests and stuff like that. There's an awful lot of clips and things of these like being portrayed online. It could be people kind of resisting arrest. It could be people dressed as suicide bombers, sort of portraying that kind of element of an event. And at a certain point, that is there a point where that's going to transition between being, yes, this is a MilSim game and we're trying to get like immersion and experience and sort of simulating the real world, to this is now a little bit close to the mark, then maybe we should kind of like bring it back a bit.
I feel like the balance needs to be, it can't be too current to or too specific to what's currently going on in the world at the time. I would love to have to deal with a suicide bomber in a MilSim, because that would make you panic. It's like, what do you do then? And stuff like that. I think in terms of the looks and feel of a game and a MilSim, again, like I say, as long as it's not something that's in current news and current situations going on, I think it should be fine. It's the physical aspects of it that would push it too far. You got some people that might go a bit far with like interrogations, like you say. You got to stay away from them to some degree, I would say.
I apologise, my Alexa just started talking to me.
Oh, that's YouTube trying to get you banned again.
Yeah. There we go. Unplug that. Yeah, I mean, there is a point where it does become, I think there's a little bit of insensitivity to some things. I think whenever you start using stereotypes, I think it's a challenge for me.
Yeah.
There's certain things that maybe don't need to be portrayed, which, I mean, calls to prayer and stuff like that, not necessary. But then is it more acceptable if you started doing, I've done it, and maybe I'm just being a bit of a hypocrite now, but we've done an event where I was effectively a local priest, and we held like a little kind of gathering as like a congregation memorial to something that got on earlier that day. Now, maybe that's just as insensitive, and maybe it's a two-faced approach on that one. I don't know.
Yeah, because then you're looking at it like you're saying that that's okay because, one, it's more of a Western ideology of church and stuff like that, instead of the Eastern ideology of churches. And is it then insensitive that you will like not do one but do the other? Because it's not really fair then, is it? In some sense.
No, but I would argue, I think, and I'll play devil's advocate for it in terms of like the defense for it, but I would say that the way that I've seen some religions portrayed at MilSim events in the view of stereotypes and generally boils down to a lack of understanding, and you don't really understand what that religion entails and sort of stuff that's said. I mean, we've all gone to events where a toy sheep gets thrown about and sort of things are portrayed as like, a little bit too intimate with the sheep. I'm not going to go into the details, but I think we can all base it on that. And that doesn't have to just be. I mean, I've been to an event where there was a Welsh team, and that was basically aimed at them a little bit. Which whether that's appropriate or not is a completely different argument. But
yeah,
there's stuff that I think is done insensitively or non-sensitively on the basis of people just don't understand what they're portraying, and they're just kind of taking key buzzwords and stuff like that, and then. Like, for example, where I was playing this role as like a local reverend, I wasn't coming out with a whole load of like just like paedophile type related things or comments like that. I was literally just because I know it. I've been in those situations, not paedophiles. I've been in the situation of Christianity and stuff like that, and
yeah,
I know enough about it that I believe I can portray that without it being as a negative stereotype. Like I wasn't there. What we were doing wasn't taking the piss out of that. It was just portraying that accurately. Whereas a lot of the time, the negative stereotypes come in because people are taking the piss. It's not done as a, like, it's not acting. You know what I mean? It's not like realism at that point. No. You are just doing it for the sake of doing it, almost.
It's when they're doing it to get an adverse reaction from someone. That's when it's too far in that respect of things. If they're doing it because they feel like it's part of the storyline and it works and they don't quite understand and they're being a bit naive, some leniency might be needed. But yeah, like you say, there is some things that go over the line, like the sheeps, and that's definitely a group of people trying to offend someone. When they're actively trying to offend someone, that's a bit too far. But it's a fine line that you got to jump between and stuff like that, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and I would argue it's the same with things like suicide bombers and stuff like that. Like, I get that they are tactics that are used, but I think it's done too casually. I think it's almost like people are like, "Oh, I'm just going to be a suicide bomber for the weekend." It's like, well, all right, fine, you're going to do that, but you're going to go home after the first time you do it.
Yeah.
Because we don't play airsoft on the basis of we want to die every 5 minutes, which is effectively what that tactic of, assault is. Like, it's the last opportunity that you're ever going to have to do anything, because it is. And it's a one-hit wonder, isn't it? Like this, but
it is a Hail Mary that something happens.
Yeah,
and then they ain't it.
Which again boils back down to the fact when you see someone in game do that, and then 20 minutes later they've respawned, and there's likely, if they've got some kind of rig that they've set up to do that kind of thing, they might do that again. It's I don't know. It's a complicated one, and
is that one of those things where you need to have your trusted individuals portray those roles as a company?
Quite possibly. It might boil down to the fact that they aren't generic players. Maybe they are down as, DS team or event staff or anything like that, where they are given that specific role to play that role, basically.
They've got that one designated time to do it. They'll do it then. That's it. It's done. It's over. And you see, I think that's probably the best way to go about those situations. Because they will add towards the immersiveness of this MilSim to some respects, but like I said, you just got to have that trusted person then, haven't you?
It's a good example of this is, right, I need to be very careful with this because I appreciate it's a sensitive subject, but was it My Family? Friday night dinner. So for those that don't know, Friday Night Dinner is a British sitcom based around a Jewish family that traditionally have, they sit down for Friday night. It's kind of, I believe it's set in a kind of Jewish tradition where they, families sit down on a Friday and sort of have dinner together. I don't know for sure. That I'm going off of what I understand that to be. By all means, correct me, Ash, if you know more than I do.
I'll be honest, I haven't watched this.
Have you not watched Friday Night Dinner? It's very funny. But right, it's not a piss take about the Jewish religion. Right, there are obviously things in there which are, because it's a Jewish family and it's a story around a Jewish family. So there are things where they go to like a synagogue for a wedding and stuff like that, which and they have a neighbour that comes round that cuts out. I can't remember the name of the hat, like the little the religious kind of.
The little. I know what you're on about.
Yeah. So he always wants to try and join this this religion on the basis like he just sees it like he wants to be a part of that, and it's well documented in the whole sort of background story of the episode of the series. But he cuts like a hole out of the shirt and he sits that on and stuff because he just wants to be a part of it. But that's not taking the piss out of the Jewish religion. Whereas you could quite easily portray that in a whole different way that would be very offensive because you're not portraying it in the way of you're just acting in those roles, if that makes sense. You are taking the piss out of those people. And I think that's where it boils down to. I think ultimately you have to have some proper understanding of what you're doing and just, if you're doing something that's horrific, don't take that lightly. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know who the. I'm certainly not a moral ground on which to stand and wave my flags around, and different events for different people. If I don't like something, I won't go to that event again. And but I think things can be done tastefully, and I don't think it's woke to suggest that certain things are portrayed in certain ways. But maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I don't know.
That's it. It's that fine line. It is a very fine line.
Yeah.
What was the question you were going to go to before that?
Marcus Hamilton. For events like Defiant, Octo8, is it okay to turn up with a sniper rifle intending to play a recce role without asking anyone beforehand?
So, I'd probably say you should make your intentions known, because a lot of MilSims and stuff like that will put you into a squad, and they will hopefully expect you to work as a squad. You can be a recce role within a squad, and that can work really well. But if you turn up without telling anybody it's going to happen, it can, one, upset the balance of that team then, and two, some people might not like it, basically. But I think that's how I feel about that.
I mean, I think the problem is, if you've got an event organizer, picture yourself as an event organizer. You've got a kind of a battle plan set out for a team. You go, right, we're going to have 2 snipers. That'll be our recon element. And then you've got 3 kind of generic assault fire teams. That maybe you allow DMR and an SM, an LMG into or whatever like that. But for the most part, you kind of like restrict it. And then you've got 5 guys that rock up who turn up as snipers that aren't in that recon, that recce element. You're like, well, that's now going to change the dynamic of the game and how you're kind of planning to play that. So I think from a courtesy point of view, I'd probably just let them know. And it might be that if you go, look, I am a sniper, I've booked onto the event, it's the only platform I've got. I want to play as a sniper at this event. And you've said you want to play a recce role. They can probably write that in if they haven't had any recce roles previously. A lot of people don't like doing recce. A lot of people see it as a boring task, and a lot of snipers, I know, complain whenever they go to MilSims that they are basically given like an Overwatch, like, right, you go up here and tell us if you see anyone type jobby, which for a sniper can be quite boring, because unless most people when they go sniping want to shoot people. That's the whole point of airsoft again. So it can be boring. So if you want to do it, then I think just tell the organisers, see if they come up with a role for you, and then yeah,
I quite enjoy the recce role, to be fair. If done right, it's quite interesting. Remember, I had a game just after COVID finished. I was at, what's that one that got bulldozed recently? It had all the lorries in the middle of it. I can't remember the name of it. It was up north. But I was there, and we had. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it now. But it's gonna it'd probably be Terry will say it in the chat.
No, Terry will jump in a second.
Yeah. But we coming towards the end of the day, and we got asked, can you go and watch this area, because there's going to be a deal going down at some point. And we was in the top of the H block building, a squad of 6 or 7 of us, and we was there for almost an hour, I think, just relaying information on what's going on around and everything like that. We had 3 guys stumble upon us, which we dealt with quite swiftly, and we heard them come back into the building, and they turned around and goes, they can't be up there still, and carried on. But when it did all kick off, we was behind enemy lines, and it was, we was able to come in and just wipe a load of people out because of it, because we sat in that observation position and dealt with it that way. But yeah,
Lance is not the show tonight, but Mac Alpha, so the Defiance event, Operation Mac Alpha, Machiavellian Alpha. He didn't fire a shot all weekend, and it was one of his best events. If you ask him, that would hands down be one of his best events that he enjoyed doing. You know, we snuck into an LUP, we set up a position, we then subsequently set up an OP that we were rotating people in and out of because it was freezing cold in there. Relaying information between the two back to the LUP, and then the LUP was relaying information back to the command structure from that point. And it was a cracking event. Like, I remember at one point there was a fire that we heard the enemy like light up a fire. It came in from the OP that they got a burn barrel out because it was cold, and they're all standing around it. And just it came over the radio. Oh, that sounds warm. And you know, it's a good different event. And I think that boils back down to what I was saying earlier. It's something different. You know, it's not just airsoft. You know, you're in an opportunity where you can try something different and build those skills. And I think that's cracking fun. I mean, you say you were obviously there for an hour on Overwatch and sort of just doing that. I mean, we had 12 hours sitting in a bush.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit longer, 12 hours. Is that the one where Andy turned up right at the end?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. So for the 40-hour event, Andy turned up at like quarter to midnight as if respective clock work. It wasn't his fault. He got stuck in traffic and stuff like that, but he missed most of the event. But it was good fun. We proper carved that bush in silence into a small enclave where we had four people, full Bergens and kit in there. Which probably was big enough for 3. So we were all huddled up. I mean, at one point it got so cold, we sort of tried to get our head down. And we've just got like a couple of whoopies like over the top of us just trying to like maintain warmth because it was a proper cold evening. And again, you can't just get up and walk around. You're not sort of running and you are literally sort of static. And you got drones flying over, so we had to like throw some camo net over the top as well. And like we weren't sure if they were operating thermal, so we had some Hessian mesh up. It's like a thermal barrier and stuff along the inside of the bush. So, yeah, it's good. It's good. Marcus said I'd be attending MilSim to do the things I can't do at skirmishes. Sareki is appealing to me, reporting positions, using comms, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah. I said this, or I think it was last week. I really want to get a sniper platform and like a proper like leaf suit, ghillie suit type thing. And I would quite happily go and do that. Like if you spent 48 hours and your task was to basically land one shot on the enemy, and you sort of try and sneak in and get to the perfect position, provide information back and stuff like that, really appeals to me, and I've cracking time doing it.
So. You like that mission from COD 4, won't it? When you got all the people walking past you.
Yeah. But you know the it's not Hurt Locker. What's the one where it's the pair of snipers? Jarhead.
Yep.
With a pair of snipers, and they're sitting there in the airport. You know, they've got watch over the airport air control tower, and they're lining up the shot. And then someone comes in and goes, "Oh no, don't worry about it. We're just going to like carpet bomb the area." And they're like, "No, I just want to take the shot." That to me is like that adrenaline and build up is like the ability to get into that position and get that shot on people. I think it's cool.
The fact they weren't allowed to do that, even though no one's going to know.
Yeah.
Well. That was a dick move from that.
Yeah. Okay, so the last question I think we'll cover is: should MilSim organisers vet players before allowing them to join more serious roleplay factions?
So I think we kind of touched on that before, didn't we? A little bit. I think for an events company, you need to have a selection of people can do a special role without worrying, because sometimes that special role that they've got to do can make or break the story you're trying to portray. That's my feelings on that, and it's just building that confidence with people.
I can't remember if it was a Legion event or a Defiant event actually at this point. I think it was Legion. I think it was like one of the last ones they did. But they had an EOD team, which was a couple of guys in a transit van. But I mean, don't get me wrong. They were good at their role in terms of they came out. They weren't necessarily the most nimble of guys. They were quite sluggish in their responses and stuff like that. But basically, we were on a patrol. We found an upturned bucket on the side of the road, which very clearly wasn't meant to be there. So we had to provide a cordon. We called it in. We're now in a position where you've got eyes on from a building up above us. And we had to wait for the EOD team to come out. So the EOD team came out. They did their own thing, and they were like in communication with RTL. They were like, we were worried about the building, potentially guys on, so we had to clear the building as well. And then they faffed about. Now, I don't know if the faffing was from the perspective of trying to kind of draw this out a little bit, whereas you could reasonably have just gone up there, kicked the bucket, and gone, well, it's just a bucket. But because they were, you have to treat it like a real EOD threat.
Yeah.
They kind of went through various steps and procedures and stuff. And, ultimately it did turn out to just be a bucket. One of the Op4 clearly knew that we had an EOD team and we were worried about EOD threats. So they just went and put a bucket upside down on the side of the road. But that was an interesting tasking. It turned an ordinary patrol that was only meant to be like 30 minutes to an hour into almost like a 2-hour tasking, because you go on patrol, you want something to happen, but this wasn't just a firefight, right? We've got to now potentially cover fields of fire. We've got civilians now starting to sort of cluster on the northern perimeter of the cordon that we've established. So we've got to make sure we're controlling them. We've got open windows that we've got to consider. We've got the whole bomb potentially going off and right next to us, and the OD team like protecting them as well. So little things like that can make a massive difference.
Yeah, like I say, the one guy just pulling out his phone, nonchalant.
Yeah,
he like panicked.
Yeah, military age male on a mobile. But it's you can't do that if you've just got a load of like on the day rock ups who are like, yeah, well, I'll be EOD, that's fine. You can't necessarily rely on them to do that role with the intention of creating that immersion.
No, exactly. I mean, the prime example for me, I went on an event and the platoon leaders were just random people that signed up to that event and said, I want to do that role, and they got given it. We were setting up the OP, he picked a terrible place. Several team leaders told him he needs to move it, and he just didn't want to, and it kind of ruined the whole aspect of it, because you could see our OP from a good distance away. So it's like, you're not hidden anymore. There's no point in trying to be quiet or anything like that around there, and a lot of people went that way about it. So yeah, I think it's even roles like that you need to keep to trusted individuals that you can have a word with to shape the narrative as we want it.
Yeah. It's an interesting one as well, because you do have to give people the opportunity to prove themselves.
Yes.
Because...
But that's where you've got to let them build it up, in like you set the squads out, and say there's Joe Bloggs in squad 4 and he's trying some promise. So the next time you see him book on an event, if he's not with the same guys, or if he is with the same guys, just move them with some more keyed up guys to the next squad and see what they do then, and you just move up that way. It's a slow thing you can gradually build up with, and talking to people you can normally get a good idea about them by talking to them as well.
Because sometimes you can only learn by doing. Yeah. There are certain things that you don't know someone's prowess or ability, how they're going to cope in certain situations until they actually have a go and do that. So the other option as well is that you can learn some of these skills. So for example, if you wanted to be a TL, go and play a skirmish game with a group of your mates or something like that. But if you're MilSim players, just run it as a TL type event where you've got someone kind of dictating what your team squad moving to, because ultimately a skirmish day is what, 25-30 quid for a walk on. So the timed games, you've probably got probably half an hour. You can have a little play around. So it's not the end of the world if you're not necessarily contributing to the task. Or I mean, even if you want to have a little private game day, something like that, have a chat with the organizer and be like, look, do you mind if we just go and have a sort of mooch over here with one of the marshals, or whatever, and we'll just practice some stuff. And it might be your crap, might be that you flourish. And it's something I want. I keep sort of suggesting this to JBG. I really wish that they did some like TL training and stuff like that, and stuff like the more sort of like specialist roles type thing. I think it'll be interesting.
So they kind of touched on it a little bit with commanding your little squad and making sure that you, when you're in that CQB environment, you will control where people go and how people move, and to make sure you're in that mindset of you don't want to be in the action, you want to be as far away from it as possible, but you still need to get all the intel together. That's been drummed in the last few times I've been a lot more than what it used to be. I think that so they might have taken your comments on board there.
Yeah. I wanted to. I'd really like to do like proper woodblock tactics and stuff like that as a not from the player perspective, and it's hard to do because obviously you don't have like 30 TLs in a team. That would just be a nightmare. But it would be cool to kind of learn some like the different positions and like almost being able to kind of know it enough that when you've got like a group of your mates at an event, we're like, right, so when we do this, like I want you to form an extended line. So basically, and it gives you the ability to explain what people are doing, so that when you know pepper potting or bounding is explained, we go, right, we're going to bound in. People know what they're doing, so there's no like, right, yeah, right, we're doing it, and then one half of the group get up and start moving forward, and other people get confused and they start pushing forward as well.
I think that's the big disconnect from quite a lot of MilSims, is that you don't get many people that do know that.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, the people that are used to doing that are in quite a tight-knit squad sometimes and lock away almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey ho. Well, thanks everyone for the questions that we had come in this week. We actually had a few extra as well, so we will stockpile those for future episodes. Next week, I believe we've got Randy on the show, but I'm not sure at this stage, so it might be a little bit of touch. Yeah, it might be a little bit hit or miss on that front. But we've got some interesting content coming up in the next few weeks. So we're planning to have Randy from One Legion. We're going to be doing our Recce Rolls episode 1, which is Lance, and talk about woodblock and kind of the Recce recon aspect. And then when Andy's back in a couple of weeks, well, I hope we're back before that, but in a couple of weeks' time, we're planning to do the episode 2 as well, kind of talking about more sort of urban opportunities and sort of the more kind of left field approach to like reconnaissance, basically. Terry said, Mike, it would be a good start to start by setting up a proper harbour area with 3 sections of platoon commander. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. There's lots of little tactics that you can do. I mean, even like when you're talking about from a TL perspective, when you've got like a load of guys camping in the woods. Ash, I don't know if you've seen this. So do people generally kind of camp with the perspective of defending that area, or do you find that people just camp on the basis of that's a nice flat spot?
Oh, it's definitely that's a nice flat spot, because that's what I do sometimes. The only time where it's been a case of defending the area, I was at Sterling's and we was at the trees, and we had to set up an OP. We had 2 or 3 people set up and camp a little bit further out from the main area, so that they'd be the first contact. So you'd have that line that if someone goes past that line, it makes a loud noise and everybody gets up then.
Yeah.
But and it was always in the defilade and find a bush to put your bivvy up in and stuff like that. So it's probably hidden and stuff. That's the only time I've ever done it properly. Every other time, be like, "That's good. I'm over there."
Yeah, so we've done a couple of events which were at sort of the private site that we sometimes play at, which was a kind of a force on force thing. I think it was against SEO Airsoft. whereby we didn't know the numbers, we didn't know sort of where they were. We had a rough idea on the game zone of sort of where they were camping, etc. But when we set up our fob, we set up in like little 2-man teams, effectively going, right, that's your field of fire. You just need to defend that somehow with your camp set up at the same time. So we were sort of like creating little kind of like defensive perimeters and stuff like that. So yeah, it's that sort of thing. I think that's the sort of thing that would be good to kind of drill into people a little bit. It'd be cool to see a little bit more of, but yeah.
No, I agree.
If you want to get in touch with us before next week's show, you can do so on our email at nofochat@hotmail.com. Our Instagram is @November_Foxtrot_NoFo, and the website is novemberfoxtrot.co.uk. As you haven't been on for a little while, I'm going to give you the words of the week because I did it last week.
Right, I'm going to steal this
Those are
from
words. Yeah, go ahead.
the show, and I'm just going to say stay liquid.
Nice. What show's that from? Because I've not heard that.
It's from SWAT.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, like it. In the meantime, we'll be back Wednesday, 8 o'clock next week. Have an absolutely cracking week, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you then. So say goodbye, Ash.
Goodbye, guys.
Say goodbye, Ash.
Goodbye, Ash.
Cool. We'll see you later. Have a cracking one. Bye.
Bye.